Hello YouTube, Brother Jero. And this is part 3 in my series of the non-aquatic black women. Black women can't swim. Y'all cannot swim. You know, we just had a woman, she swam in the Olympics. I can't even think of her name, but she tied for first in the gold medal, and she was a black girl. And so, black women, we do have one example of a black woman that can really get down with it, and she was one of the best in the world. In fact, the best. But she tied with this white girl from another country, and I think that was kind of ironic, especially with me making this video talking about black women can't swim. But you all can swim when you want to, but them white women are on your heels. In fact, y'all couldn't even share the podium. I mean, y'all couldn't even be on that podium by yourself. That white woman got you right there. Y'all tied. But anyway, I'm just joking. But the analogy still holds. I really think that to compare black women with swimming and not having the ability to swim is a good one, because you guys cannot swim, and it's so bad in terms of relationships and dealing with men, and black men in particular, that your aversion to swimming is so bad that you guys will get an invitation to a pool party. You'll get your hair done. You'll even go to the sporting goods place or wherever you buy your bikinis or your swimsuits, and y'all will get some real sexy looking swimsuits. You'll even get a little waist wrap sash and get you some sandals. You'll get the tanning oil, and oh man, you guys will just look like, these Greek goddesses, walking into the pool party. But you have no intentions on getting wet because you got your hair done. You guys got this thing for your hair. It's so intense that you guys are darn near sleeping standing up to try and keep your hair, that little hairdo you got that you paid for. You want to have that thing ride for a long time. But you'll also not even want anybody to touch it. Don't touch my hair. Don't wet me. Get away from me. And so the long thing is, when I look at the black woman at the pool party, man, you guys look like you can swim, but your mind is not able to even conceive of how fun swimming is. And the question I have to ask is, why is your attitude so funky around the pool? Why go to the party if you're not going to get wet? If you are so averse, you just don't want nobody splashing or even dragging you close to the water. Because the reason why is that you really don't want to deal with the work involved, and you totally forgot just how fun playing in the water was. And so what I'm going to say is, for the first one, in terms of you don't want to do the work that's involved, it's like learning how to swim is going to involve discipline, meaning you're going to have to pay some money. You're going to have to sit down, and the teacher's going to sit you down, and they're going to get you to do some basic exercises. Like when I was taking swimming lessons as a little boy, which really didn't help me too much. It was a start, but I was self-taught at a public pool, and it was just by playing around in the water. But it got to a point where they'd put you over the edge of the pool and you'd kick your feet, and then they'd have you take this little paddle board where you learn how to kick your feet while keeping your hands in front of you, and you see how you could propel yourself by kicking your feet in the water. So you guys don't want to have that discipline where you learn these basic physical activities, which is going to ultimately help you learn how to swim. But it's really ironic that you demonstrate the ability to learn because you are able to hold a good job and you're able to get a good education. And all of these things seem to point to you having the ability, but you lack the discipline to be able to harness that same focus that you put in on getting your education and holding that good paying job. You just seem to be totally at a loss to understand just what it's going to take to have a good relationship with a man. And so too, you just don't know how to swim. And so the second part is you don't want to remember just how fun it was to play in the water as a little child. You go in the backyard on a hot day, and you might have your friend there, or brother or sister, and you guys will break out that water hose and start spraying each other with the water hose. And I know girls maybe from the age of 5 to maybe 9, 10 years old, you guys don't really care so much about getting your hair wet. It's all about having fun. It's all about dealing with the water. And you're getting wet up with a little bit of water. You may not have a swimming pool, but you can have some fun out there with the water hose with your friends. And I do remember playing around in the backyard. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but we lived in a house, a nice house. We had a backyard, and we laid down plastic on the grass, and we made like a kind of a ghetto slip and slide using these plastic Glad trash bags. And I'm telling you, it worked. I mean, we had fun sliding on that plastic, and it really didn't cost our parents too much for us to manufacture our own slip and slide out. So you didn't really care so much about how your hair turned out. It was all about getting wet and having fun. And so what happened to you from the age of 7 to 9, where you really didn't care so much about how your hair looked, it was all about getting wet and having a ball. As you got older and you got educated in this educational system, you became ashamed. You became embarrassed to get your hair wet, to get involved with those things that, if you remember back as a child, those things were fun and you enjoyed these things. But now that you've gotten older and you can afford to be not just around a little squirting water hose, now you can be around a pool full of water, and that water is deep. And I liken the depth of the water to being the more sophistication of a man. As a child, things are very simple and straightforward. But once you get older, hopefully you're going to develop some depth. You're going to have some substance to your thinking and to your interactions with people, to where you're not just going to be able to, open up that valve and get squirted. You're going to somebody's going to have to learn how to swim. And swimming involves really understanding the behavior of the thing, what it can do. And just as water can be so refreshing to us, and something that we can enjoy, so too it can be very dangerous if we choose to not have a healthy respect for it being able to destroy. I mean, the power of water is easily demonstrated when we see flooding, tidal waves, just how rain creates mudslides. I mean, water serves us in so many ways, but we definitely have to have a healthy respect. So too, the woman needs to have a healthy respect for the man. But feminism has made women think that they are men's equal, and to me, that's where the real respect is lost. And because you think you can be like a man, you start trying to act like water, and ultimately you're going to drown. And we see in this society many women being pulled out of the water. Some of them barely surviving, barely making it out alive, but many of them have drowned. They've been, there wasn't a lifeguard there to save them. And the only thing we can see is all of the ruin and wreck that had resulted from these women trying to go in the deep waters, having no skills and having really no intentions of even getting wet. So it's at a point where I just really hope that, in a woman, considering my analogy, that getting wet with a man in terms of doing some of the things that will be required, just as learning how to swim is going to be required if you don't know how to swim and you don't want to drown. So too, the woman is going to have to understand that to be thought of as doing these things for a man as being exploited is a perversion of what you're doing. And the funny thing is that in looking at it that way, you're being set up to be exploited in a whole nother arena. Because, like I said, I'm pointing out to you guys are doing really well in education and you're doing really well in business, but you've lost this thing in relationships. And for the two things that you gain, I would say at the end of your life, the one thing that you lost is going to be the most precious and valuable thing in your latter years. So it's at a point where you've got to understand that, wow, you know what? I was very good at getting a good education. I was very good at managing a business and working for these corporations, working for the government. But now that I'm older, is this skill and expertise in business and education, is that going to be sufficient for me to be happy in my latter years? And I would say for the most part, most of you women are going to say, no, it's not. And, you're going to look around and you're going to say it was the men's fault. But if it was the men's fault, then you're a victim. And if you're a victim, there's no reason to complain, because victims have no power to change their circumstance. But the reason why you're complaining is because you really know deep down inside you're not a victim. You just made some choices and you failed to really count the cost of what these choices are going to do and how they're going to impact you in every phase of this game called life. So it's at a point where I'm going to just ask the women, for those that made this mistake of thinking the feminist movement, thinking that you're going to live like men and be like men is going to be fulfilling, I think you guys need to start making some videos where you acknowledge this truth that I'm bringing before you. And it's not too late to teach these younger women how to swim. It's not too late for you to make your life really have some real value and get a real payoff, because somebody pulled you out of that water. And I think I'm pulling a lot of women out of the mindset of drowning right now. I'm that lifeguard that's getting you and bringing you to the edge. Hey, got you out of this water, but baby, you need to learn how to swim. Well, okay, well, wait a second. Let's first clear you up and get you back to where you're breathing air and nothing but air. Let's see what we can do to get you some swimming lessons and get you to where you can start dealing with these things. But don't get mad when the water still doesn't want to behave right. You hop in the water and you still need a paddle board and you need some serious lessons, because you've been changed by this experience. You've been changed. The lifeguard came and changed. He brought you out, and it was a traumatic experience. The water kind of got in your lungs, and your glottic opening, that little airway passage that leads to the lung, is still kind of spasming. You had these babies. The water got in there and made you have some babies. So your life is still spasming from all of this interaction with the water. But now it's at a point where you got to say, what, darn it, I didn't learn how to swim, but I'm going to teach these other women that they don't have to suffer. And y'all can get back to understanding that to serve a man in a relationship is similar to serving your boss at a job. And when I see women doing so much for their job, yet if a man is going to ask her to do something, They don't want to do it. There was a woman, she said, I'd rather be a white man's whore than be a piece of gum on the bottom of a black man's shoe. So you'd rather be a whore than to be a piece of bubble gum on the bottom of a black man's shoe. Well, if you are a piece of bubble gum on the bottom of a black man's shoe, I think the black man like me, and I've had bubble gum catch on the bottom of my shoe, I usually pick it up and get it off my shoe. So for you to even think that I would tolerate you being on the bottom of my shoe, it's not going to happen. I'm going to take you off and get rid of you. And this is what a lot of men are doing. You black women think that you guys are doing us a favor by hanging around at the bottom of our shoe. But I don't like gum on the bottom of my shoe. I don't even like stepping in doo-doo. But the feeling under my foot is the same experience that I have when a black woman comes in with that funky attitude. Same thing at the pool party. You come in looking all beautiful and stuff, but hell, I'm wearing my swim trunks. I've been in the water. I done jumped off the diving board a few times, and you just won't even get wet. I mean, how many women do you guys see at the party where, there might be a couple of men out there, but you know what? They're idiots too, because they wasn't even there to swim. They were there to try and see if they could, pull some beautiful woman. And I'm like sitting there saying, what value are you getting? You got a woman that's coming to a pool party and she don't want to swim. You're both idiots. You guys are coming to the party without even the primary intention for what the party was set up for. So too, you black women are coming to a pool party with all this education, with all of this, with hairdos and all this, and no real intentions of getting wet. And I just tell you, the water's cool, the water's great. But you got to see the water for what it is. You got to appreciate it. And you got to be uncaring as far as what this water is going to do to your hair. Because it's hot out here. Let's get refreshed. Let's have some fun. Once we do that, we'll be blessed. And I know my analogy is kind of straining right now, but I'm going to make one more episode to really clarify this part of the end of my analogy, where we're going to get back together and have some fun. So, peace to you guys, and I really hope part 4 is going to be a little more clear than part 3. Peace to y'all.